Hi, thank you for coming to listen to Listed by Mina Kuper. I am a real estate agent. I'm with Keller Williams. We're at 98.1 FM, 1220 AM. And my show is about real estate, trust, probate, divorce, all those fun things, right? that can turn our life upside down. But, between myself and the professionals that I know, we're always here to help people and talk to them about what the options are given to their situation, because there's so many different situations that come into play when you're dealing with separations of some sort, and children and mixed marriages and death and all that. But as you know, and I'm going to talk a little bit about real estate because I think people are kind of like, oh, now what? Because the interest rates did go up, and everybody knows that, and everything went up, right? Prices of everything went up. So, you know, I know that it seems high to some people, the interest rates, but they're not, because they historically they've gone up to 15%, right? So, a lot of the lenders rolled out different types of programs to offset a bit of that, right? And, even think people like, oh my God, did I miss the boat? Or, I should have sold my $5 million house yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or my equestrian properties that we handle as well, a while ago, because now it's going to be more expensive and I dropped the price. But you know what? If you don't ask, you don't know. And I think thinking about it makes people upset. I think best to call me and we could talk about it and see what's going on. As far as my listing fees, to offset the interest rate hike, I am doing half of what I typically would charge, and you get the same service. So I'm giving back, and it makes me feel good to do that because I'm not only about money, I'm about helping people, building relationships with people. So if you think you're going to pay the $20, $30, $40,000 commissions, I can possibly help you with that. So each one will be talked about differently depending on the property. But I'm definitely here to help you. Licensed in California and Arizona and New York. So if you have any needs there, please let me know, because I do business there as well. I am licensed there. And we offer staging. I have stagers on my team, bookkeepers if you have apartment buildings or multifamily buildings that need some quick updating on their profit and loss and net operating expenses. Sometimes if it's an inheritance and people didn't keep up with it, that needs to be organized, right? And so I can't really sell it efficiently, although people will do it, but you'll lose money, right? Because best to know what's going on. The more information you have, the better the deal for my clients. And also if you need realtors in other states, I have access to them. I know some amazing realtors in different states, Florida, Colorado, Texas. So, again, reach out to me. My number is 310-345-8500. If anything, you'll have a good time talking to me. I like to have fun. So I want to thank Marcus for being on the phone with us today. He is an amazing bankruptcy attorney. He's been doing this for many, many years. And like myself, when dealing with all these things in someone's financials and business and personal life, when things are not smooth, he too has to be a referee, right? He's got to like, see what's going on. How do I make these people's lives easier, right? How do I make it better for them? So, Mark, I want to thank you for being here today on the phone with us.
My pleasure. How are you today, Mina?
I'm doing good. It's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday. But it's good. Every day is good. You wake up, you're healthy, you have family, you have good health, right? A day's good, right? You have options, choices. We're very lucky.
Any day
luckier
you
than.
wake up is a good day.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. And I know, Mark, you and I have been kicking the tires because, I've had people ask me about, different scenarios because, people are in action again. So now they're, oh, well, they bought a house, married couple, and, one, some people, second marriages, they keep their finances kind of separate, right? But it's a community property state. And they buy a house together, right? One spouse has issues with finances and the other one doesn't. But now the other one, maybe lost their job or, can't keep up with things and or unforeseen circumstances, health, all these things, nobody really wants to do anything that revolves dissolutions of things, but sometimes you have to, you have to reorganize yourself. So what happens when that happens? You have one spouse all peachy keen. The other one had some more unforeseen circumstance and they own a house together.
Well, if they're married, there really is no legal difference between the two of them from the standpoint of what they would be doing in a bankruptcy context. They're one treated basically as one unit. Because, as you mentioned, it is community property state. Excuse me, sorry. That frog just jumped into my throat.
Get him out.
So, while the debts may be separate, and I know a lot of people go into marriages, separating their finances, and these are my credit card debts, these are your credit card debts. I'm going to pay this, you're going to pay that, and that's fine. And even if the debts may be there in their name alone, the credit card is just in my name, and it was in my name before we got married. They may be your separate debts, but as far as what the creditors that are owed the money are concerned, they can collect from any community property assets, which is basically any income that's earned during the marriage and any property that's acquired during the marriage and things like that, so that when you are looking into a bankruptcy to resolve the debts, even though one spouse can file bankruptcy by themselves, there's no requirement that they both file. You're still going to be looking at the total assets that both of them hold, and the income of the household and the expenses of the household in determining what their options are in a bankruptcy context. The exception to that would be possibly if they have a prenuptial agreement that actually separates the property and the income and allows actually separates the things, and they've actually complied with the terms of the prenuptial agreement, there are ways around some of those things, but in general, the community property issues control how that's going to play out.
Now, typically, what happens? Is there a difference if they file separately married?
If they file bankruptcy separately?
No, if they file their tax returns separate married. They've never filed together.
On that.
So the bankruptcy courts will ask, how it doesn't matter how you file when it comes to that.
Not at all. Not even slightly. Well,
that's
the
kind
only thing that
of tough
affects
stuff. You got to really try to go in with your best foot here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the filing separately option for taxes is purely for tax purposes, and that just kind of allocates who is responsible, I guess, for the taxes of that year. I'm not an accountant, so I'm not even
right.
I'm not going to pretend to tell you why that it is that way, but that doesn't affect liability for debts or even what assets you have. So that doesn't really impact bankruptcy in one way or the other.
So it's best. So if someone, obviously people get angry when they find out what's happening, and sometimes it happens, and it's not foul play really all the time on the other person's, and sometimes there are addiction issues that come up, and and that's something that's a medical issue as far as I'm concerned. And I think that probably working together with that person is best than trying to, I'm divorcing you, I'm leaving you. Well, that doesn't solve the problem, correct?
Well, I never recommend divorce. I mean, if it can be avoided, obviously, but it could, in some instances, it can resolve the problem. Part of it, of course, depends on how long you've been married. I mean, if you've been married for 20 years, it's not going to.
Right, it doesn't matter. What's mine is yours and yours is mine, right?
Right. But I mean, if you've been married for 5 weeks and you suddenly discover that your spouse has $100,000 of credit card debt that they didn't tell you about, and that happens, by the way. I mean, I get clients, all the time that they didn't have any idea what debts the spouse had, and it's not from nefarious purposes like you were mentioning. Typically it's something they thought they could handle, and they didn't want to bring it up, and a lot of people simply don't think about the ramifications of getting married, and that's interesting because I've been having this conversation a lot with in other groups that I belong to, with divorced professionals.
Right.
I mean, it's a divorce professional group for people that help people that are going through divorce. I didn't get divorced, but it happens all the time where they don't really know, and they don't ask what
right. Can you imagine? That's like not romantic. By the way, do you have credit card debt? It's like a hard conversation. And you know what? That's when maybe people should go to therapy before they get divorced. I mean, before they get married, so that they can say, look, we want this to work out long term, but all these things are relevant and you can't sweep it under the rug. So let me ask you something. If someone comes into the marriage with $100,000 in debt and they acquired it before the marriage, it'll still be the new person's debt, or?
Well, no, it's still technically just the person's debt that had it prior to the marriage.
Right.
The problem is that the creditors can go after community property assets to satisfy that debt. I'm actually not stating that correctly. The money, any income that's earned during the marriage is community income. Mm-hmm. So that means that it's 50% of the income that's coming in from either spouse belongs to either spouse. So that income can be used to satisfy any debts that either one of them has. So the point is that if you file a bankruptcy case, the income and the assets that are community assets are going to factor into what can be protected and what needs to be paid out, if anything, to the creditor. And you don't always have to pay it out. And in most cases, this is really a non-issue. Most people don't have. I can usually protect all the assets, that people have, and there's usually not too much income, and they qualify for Chapter 7 bankruptcy or even doing a payment plan in a Chapter 13. It usually works out just fine, but they're usually surprised to find out that you need the other spouse's information, and that's because it does factor into the analysis. Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing they have DocuSign these days. No, no, I'm only kidding. I guess a wet signature is needed, right?
Well, and also to be honest, I've almost never had a case where the spouses were not cooperating with each other.
That's nice to know.
When they're married, most people work it out. They're usually not happy to find out about it, but they usually work it out, and it's usually fine. But again, the spouse that didn't incur the debt, their income is going to be factored into the ability to pay of the household, which again may or may not result in anything, in any payments having to be made, but it has to be factored into the analysis.
Yeah. So, I mean, the moral of the story is, I think when people, if it does happen, go see Mark, because you need to talk about different options. And I think that avoiding it is only going to escalate things. I think if you can initiate some activity or get some amazing advice from Mark, I think that's the way to go, because I've seen people avoid all kinds of things, and it just got worse. It's
That's
a big boo-boo that gets worse.
Accurate.
Right.
Yeah. The number one problem that I see with a lot of people, and I've been doing this 31 years now, the number one problem that I see is that people wait too long to learn about their options.
Yes. Right.
Most problems that arise from debts and having to file bankruptcy arise from waiting too long to do something about it, and learning your options.
Exactly.
And it really doesn't cost anything to learn your options.
That's right.
I provide free consultations, free initial consultations to people.
That's amazing.
And I'm pretty comprehensive. I go through everything, and I go through exactly what they can.
You have a lot of patience, Mark. What's a good way? So, by the way, folks who's listening on the radio, 98.1 FM, 1220 AM, we're on Facebook Live, and this radio station is great because of that. And so you can listen to us later and watch us. Watch me. Mark is virtual, but he's local. And, just, go back on Facebook, on the Facebook page, KHTS Hometown Station, or you can download the app at KHTS Entertainment. And we will have our show in there as well, under the Listed by Mina Kuper show. We're on between 12 and 1 every Thursday. Mark, a good phone number for you is?
It's 818-509-1173, and my webpage address where I can be reached is www.bklaw.com. That's B as in bankruptcy, KLAW.com.
That's a great domain name. How could you not remember that? No, really, that's really
old.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay though. It's like my cell number, right? My cell number is 310-345-8500. That was old too, and that's just like everybody's like, "How'd you get that?" I'm like, had it a long time.
First in line.
Front in line, that's right. Well, Mark, listen, have an amazing weekend. I love talking to you. I can talk to you for 2 hours. So, it's just so much information that you have, and so knowledgeable, and such a nice person that you are, and that helps.
Appreciate it. It's my pleasure, and Mina's a lot of fun to talk to as well.
Thank
so anybody
you.
that wants to
have a good time, just give me a call. We'll Zoom. All right, Mark. Have a good rest of the day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mina Kuper is a certified realtor focusing on trusts, probates, 1031 exchanges, divorce, and much more. She's a specialist. Mina has published books on inherited and divorced properties and business dissolutions. Ready to sell? Call Mina Kuper. Need your property renovated? Mina Kuper will help. No out-of-pocket expense. Pay at escrow. Mina Kuper, Keller Williams Realty. Serving Santa Clarita, Ventura County, LA County, Orange County, and San Diego. Call 310-345-8500 or go to listed by Mina Kuper, KUPER.com.
Jerry Holt at Brook & Sons Inspections, with over 40 years of experience in the construction industry, has performed thousands of home inspections. Jerry Holt, once a city building inspector and general contractor, knows exactly what you need to look for when buying a home. Serving LA, Ventura, and Orange counties. Call Brook & Sons with any questions. They're here to serve you. Call Brook & Sons Inspections at 747-336-9849 or email at brookandsonsinc@gmail.com for your free quote.
Are you looking for help with your online marketing? Do you need a professional website design? Do you want to increase your sales and get more leads? Then you need Abby Perez, CEO of Digital Concept. Abby has 15 years of experience helping businesses with all of their online marketing needs. She and her team will work tirelessly to get you the results you deserve. They offer a free in-depth analysis. Call Abby Perez and the Digital Concept team today and let them help you take your business to the next level at 800-531-0872 or visit digitalconceptmarketing.com.
Richard Wang is an attorney and founding partner with Viridian Mortgage, a residential mortgage broker specializing in Disney-level customer service for residential purchase and refinance transactions. Richard leads a team of dream makers that prepare buyers to present the winning offer while securing the most competitive loan terms and in industry-leading turnaround times. Ask Richard Wang about their no-income and zero down payment loans for medical professionals by calling 408-828-5609 today.
Mark J. Marcus is a bankruptcy attorney in Burbank. He's helped his clients eliminate debts, stop foreclosures, and wage garnishments in Chapter 7, 13, and Chapter 11 bankruptcy cases in the greater Los Angeles area since 1991. He is a certified specialist in bankruptcy law by the State Bar of California Board of Legal Specialization. If you're facing debt problems such as mortgages, taxes, credit cards, debts from divorce, medical, and others, contact Mark to schedule an appointment. 818-509-1173.
Skyline Smiles is a full-service, high-tech dental office located in Skyline Ranch Plaza on Plum Canyon Road in Santa Clarita. Dr. Harleen Graywall, founder and CEO, provides full-service dentistry as well as dental Botox for TMJ issues. Skyline Smiles strives to provide the best dental experience for you and your family. Visit Skyline Smiles Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or call at 661-244-4036.
Your hometown station.
KHTS is the only station I listen to.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Hi, thank you for showing up again. My name is Mina Kuper. You're listening to the Listed by Mina Kuper show, 98.1 FM, 1220 AM. And we're about real estate, trust, estate planning, probate, divorce, and more. Because there's a lot of questions. I started my show when the lockdown happened, and I was like, I'm not just going to sit here. I'm going to talk to the world and let them know what is possible, because a lot of people were doing a lot of thinking back then. And my next guest, I think, can verify that. We have Christine Allen here. She's a estate planning attorney, probate, and she's just a probate attorney, and she's just amazing with her time and her knowledge. And, it makes planning a lot easier when you have someone that is easy to talk to and very knowledgeable.
Well, thank you, Mina. Thank you for having me here today.
Yes, you're welcome. I know, Christine, you and I, chatted, about clients we had, and people have asked me quite a bit about, because they're buying a house, right? And they have kids and
Right.
Ex-husbands are going to be whatever the story is. And, there are too many times when, and you hear more than I do, where people call you up and a father or mother or sister or brother dies, and the immediate family member said there's no trust. What does that look like?
Well, it means that if there's a house, we're going to probate. If there's no trust in place, even if you have a will, you do not get around to probate. And unfortunately, probate is expensive. Mm-hmm. It's also very time-consuming. It means people who are expecting to inherit assets may not receive anything for more than a year.
Right.
And it also means that someone needs to step in right away. If there's a mortgage that needs to get paid, they've got to go to court in order to get authority to gain access to the assets in order to keep the mortgage current. Right. That's actually a common misconception I get from clients.
Right. We
routinely.
talked about that property, when I mentioned addresses that had that issue and there was equity there, and it's like, oh my God, they have to access money to pay things.
And they think, oh, well, doesn't that just stop? Isn't the mortgage not going to be due until we've got the estate rolling? No, the mortgage is due, and if you don't pay the mortgage, you go into default, and then you've got to pull it out of default. Right. So, it is really just so important for your sake, for your children's sakes, for your loved ones' sakes, to do good planning. So, and I'm, of course, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I help people with probates who haven't done their planning, their families. But I also do think it's just so important to make sure that if you can get a trust done, to do it, but not just to trust. So one of the things I think maybe we could talk about a little bit today is comprehensive planning.
Yes.
So people think about who's going to get my stuff when I die.
Yes. Right.
The people coming to me for their estate plans, that's kind of usually what's on their mind. What they're not thinking about is what happens if I become incapacitated?
Right.
Who's going to manage my finances? Who's going to manage my care? Who's going to make sure the bills get paid? What's going to happen to my house? If you have kids, what's going to happen with my children? So a good estate plan does a lot more than just look at what happens when you pass away.
Right.
It's also going to make sure that while you're alive, you have an agent appointed to make medical decisions for you,
Yes.
financial decisions for you, and, beyond that, to hopefully give those agents instructions.
Right.
So they know what you want. So
And-
they
and
know
look at-
what you're looking for the rest of your life, where maybe you're in a situation where you need long-term care.
Right.
Or even in a short-term hospitalization type of
Because
scenario.
look at all these young celebrities, relatively young, under 70 years old, that died recently from, hitting their head to COVID to finding out or auto accidents, unfortunately. I mean, every day is another day, and we're blessed to have that other day. And people think that, time is precious, and make sure that, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, we'll get to it tomorrow, and that tomorrow is too late sometimes.
It's true. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, I know 3 people in their 40s who've passed away.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect it to happen
No.
at that age.
No. Or incapacitated.
People with children.
Right.
People with homes.
Right, and they're looking for GoFundMe accounts, and that's not what's as easy. I mean, that
Right.
shouldn't compensate for that.
Right. And so, it is one of those things maybe you don't want to think about, death, right? But it is important. It is important to plan ahead, both for your future.
'Cause it makes you feel good that, I think once you do it, it's not as scary as
Absolutely.
it would be thinking about doing it. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Thinking
Right.
about doing it is scarier than actually doing it. Doing it makes you feel good and gives you peace of mind. It's like, everybody, well, not everybody, most people have car insurance, right?
Right.
You have health insurance. Did you get it because, oh my God, I'm going to get in an accident this week? That's scary to think about. But automatically we're just conditioned to get car insurance.
Right.
We're conditioned to get some kind of health insurance because you don't, think about, someone may get out of bed and break their ankle or go across the street and slip on something and have to be hospitalized. It's the same thing. That is not any different than this. You're just planning just in case. It's insurance to make sure everything is taken care of. And, the courts don't get your money.
Right. It takes so long. And
It's so long.
We have, great judges. We have wonderful probate judges
And they
who
work hard,
understand.
yeah.
But they're
So many people.
just overloaded.
Yeah.
And it just takes a very long time
Yeah.
as a result
Right.
of that. And
Right.
so, if we can't avoid a probate, we can work to get things done as efficiently as possible as part of the process. I don't know if we've done any real estate sales through probates. We've done some trust ones.
Right.
Some
Some
but
trust
there
ones.
are some ways we can
Right.
work from the beginning of
From
the
the
probate
beginning.
process
Right.
to make sure it is as smooth as possible going
right.
through probate sales.
Right. And sometimes you don't have people arguing. There could be a will, and you just have to straighten that all out because, the probate thing is, I'm a certified trust and probate realtor, and, I've had to deal with squatters. Because they find out that there's nobody living there because sometimes it takes a long time. And now you have somebody who shouldn't be there opening up the electric and the water, or there are these companies that act like they own and rent the house. And a lot of times you have out-of-state executors that will be the ones managing
And
for
they
the
don't
family.
have eyes right there.
Who's sitting
on the
there
property.
watching the property? These people just let themselves in, make themselves at home. And, it's not easy to get them out after.
I have a couple
You know?
cases right now where that's the issue.
I've been threatened,
and
you
it's
know,
holding up property sales.
right.
Actually.
I've I had quite a few times, and they called and threatened me, and I was very nice to them. I didn't get into it. I said, look, this is a legal matter at this point, and I'm sorry you're having to go through that. They claimed it was their property,
Okay.
because they didn't
Or
want to
they
leave.
believe they legitimately
Right.
rented it.
Yes, or
from a scam
that's
artist,
right.
from
That's
somebody
right.
else.
And that is really something that you need to look out for, because you're handling it right now.
Right. Exactly. It delays everything. It means somebody else has to keep paying the mortgage. And sometimes the home is the only asset in the estate.
Yeah.
And that means you have individuals trying to either refinance or take a loan themselves or pay out of their own pockets until they can get that house sold.
Right. It's very
to
stressful.
proceed.
Right.
So if we do things right from the start, if we take the time to get our planning done, it really does take a load off of your relatives' shoulders in the event you pass away, or if you can't manage your finances yourself anymore. So, and I will tell you, it's not just the work. There's a huge emotional component to dealing with a loved one's death. And then on top of it, there's just this practical aspect that you have to take care of. You can't just go into mourning when there's assets that need to be handled. For example, like property.
It was a while ago, last year. Someone mentioned to me that the kids were out of state, and the father had a caregiver in a house in Pasadena that was valuable, and this caregiver was living there and was the only person living there. And somehow, I guess because no one was taking care of him, and he was desperate, because I assume the caregiver suggested that he wouldn't stay there anymore if he didn't provide inclusion of that estate plan and the trust. So when someone does, and these things all happen, and when someone does something like that, like they create a trust.
Okay.
Do they leave it with the attorney a copy? So
yes,
we know
like,
that
we
it's kosher,
always
so to speak,
keep
right?
a full set
Because
of
people keep in the
electronic
drawing that they
and
can't even
hard
find it,
copies.
right?
Right. Yes. There are provisions in California law, though, that actually prohibit caregivers from receiving funds unless they're related by blood or unless they've gone through an independent review process.
But it's still an argument, though.
It is something you still have to go to court and fight.
Right. And you have to get an attorney, and then the party starts again. So how do you try to avoid that? I know it's a tricky, slippery slope, or a girlfriend moves in and talks them into it.
It's one of those things sometimes you just plain can't avoid it.
Yeah.
The better thing to do is to make sure you're doing your planning, preferably before there are capacity issues.
Right, because capacity is another issue, right?
100%.
I mean, like if you know that someone's slipping, you need to get on it.
Yes.
If you can, if they allow you to make sure that they're claimed to be incapacitated, and you could get maybe temporary guardianship.
It's a fairly low standard for capacity to make a will. You need to know who your relatives are,
right?
What property you own, and you need to understand basically what you're doing.
Right.
It's a little more complicated to do a trust, but not much more. It's the same kind of idea.
Right. And you still, with the program, you still know your children's names. They're lucid enough to create that.
Right, absolutely. So the hard part is people slip into dementia, and it's progressive.
Yeah.
So it doesn't start that you don't know what's going on. It starts where maybe you have good days and bad days.
Right.
You can't remember where something went, or you forget about
that sounds
certain
like
things.
me. That happened to me last week. I didn't know where something was.
I have that too.
Or my keys are, my phone, someone take them. No.
Right, exactly. So, the best thing you can do is really get your planning done while you're capable of understanding it. And some people want their family to know, here's what I'm doing.
Right.
So that when they would pass away, there isn't a lot of confusion, there aren't a lot of questions. The other thing I would say is if you have your planning done by an attorney, you have the perfect witness,
yes,
right? So in the event you end up in a trial, or your relatives do after your death, that attorney gets up on the witness stand and can testify as to all of the items that matter, your competence, your intentions, whether or not there was somebody else in the room influencing you, or if this was just them coming to you for their planning.
Right.
So, I have a lot of trusts that come to me in my litigation capacity where maybe they just went on a website and got themselves a trust, or they tried to do it themselves. And we end up with things like situations where the language isn't clear.
Right.
And it creates division in the family. It creates a dispute that can be very expensive to resolve in court. Right. And also, you see situations where they have a trust, but nobody ever drafted a deed to actually put the real property in the trust.
And that's a probate too,
It's either a probate or there's some shortcuts.
Some shortcuts to that.
But it still means
something.
Thousands of dollars in legal fees in court to resolve, typically.
And I know about, we want to talk a little more about, we're going to take a break, right? And soon, and we're going to talk about something else that's really important. So we're going to keep everybody hanging. So again, some people may have to hop off the radio and won't come back after the break. What's a good way to get in touch with you, Christine?
Well, you can reach me at my phone number, which is 714-704-4828. You can also look up my firm on the web. It's Barth Calderon Attorneys. It's barthattorneys.com. And, you will find that we are well equipped to handle both estate planning, estate litigation, corporate planning, and corporate litigation issues for you there.
Yeah, and the attorneys there are super nice. I know some of them, some of the partners and everything. They're really special people. They're really good at what they do, and they really care. So that's a big deal. That's who you want to talk to. So we'll be back.
Are you looking for help with your online marketing? Do you need a professional website design? Do you want to increase your sales and get more leads? Then you need Abby Perez, CEO of Digital Concept. Abby has 15 years of experience helping businesses with all of their online marketing needs. She and her team will work tirelessly to get you the results you deserve. They offer a free in-depth analysis. Call Abby Perez and the Digital Concept team today and let them help you take your business to the next level at 800-531-0872 or visit digitalconceptmarketing.com.
Jerry Holt at Brook & Sons Inspections, with over 40 years of experience in the construction industry, has performed thousands of home inspections. Jerry Holt, once a city building inspector and general contractor, knows exactly what you need to look for when buying a home. Serving LA, Ventura, and Orange counties. Call Brook & Sons with any questions. They're here to serve you. Call Brook & Sons Inspections at 747-336-9849 or email at brookandsonsinc@gmail.com for your free quote.
Mina Kuper is a certified realtor focusing on trusts, probates, 1031 exchanges, divorce, and much more. She's a specialist. Mina has published books on inherited and divorced properties and business dissolutions. Ready to sell? Call Mina Kuper. Need your property renovated? Mina Kuper will help. No out-of-pocket expense. Pay at escrow. Mina Kuper, Keller Williams Realty, serving Santa Clarita, Ventura County, LA County, Orange County, and San Diego. Call 310-345-8500 or go to listed by Mina Kuper, KUPER.com.
Richard Wang is an attorney and founding partner with Viridian Mortgage, a residential mortgage broker specializing in Disney-level customer service for residential purchase and refinance transactions. Richard leads a team of dream makers that prepare buyers to present the winning offer while securing the most competitive loan terms and in industry-leading turnaround times. Ask Richard Wang about their no-income and zero down payment loans for medical professionals by calling 408-828-5609 today.
Mark J. Marcus is a bankruptcy attorney in Burbank. He's helped his clients eliminate debts, stop foreclosures, and wage garnishments in Chapter 7, 13, and Chapter 11 bankruptcy cases in the greater Los Angeles area since 1991. He is a certified specialist in bankruptcy law by the State Bar of California Board of Legal Specialization. If you're facing debt problems such as mortgages, taxes, credit cards, debts from divorce, medical, and others, contact Mark to schedule an appointment. 818-509-1173.
Skyline Smiles is a full-service, high-tech dental office located in Skyline Ranch Plaza on Plum Canyon Road in Santa Clarita. Dr. Harleen Graywall, founder and CEO, provides full-service dentistry as well as dental Botox for TMJ issues. Skyline Smiles strives to provide the best dental experience for you and your family. Visit Skyline Smiles Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or call at 661-244-4036.
I love it.
Right on!
Your hometown station.
Good afternoon. We're at the top of the hour now. Listening to Listed by Mina Kuper, 98.1 FM, 1220 AM. We're about real estate, trust, probate, estate planning, divorce, and more. And I have the wonderful Christine Allen, who's an estate planning and probate attorney, also a litigator. So watch out. If you need someone to fight for you, she's sweet, but she carries a heavy hammer.
Someone called me their secret weapon once. I like that.
Because nobody expects it, but it's just that you're very smart and clever, because a lot of people handle things differently. Even though if they're attorneys, professionals, they'll either get loud or they'll get argumentative. They won't keep their stature in being professional.
You have to be adaptable. And I would say that the probate bar, the people who litigate these type of things are pretty, solid, trustworthy people. But sometimes you just got to get tough.
You got to, because they're just ranting. People, regardless of anything, people are still human, right?
Well, people find attorneys. People say they look like their little dogs. No, attorneys. They will find people that are like them. They're attorneys.
Love it. I think that's great.
I will say you get a very aggressive person on the other side. Their attorney. That's who they're going to look for.
Right.
So I'm fully versed in that. And I practiced in LA for 7-8 years.
Strategic.
Before I moved to Orange County.
Now, if
I'm
you
all
practice in LA, you can practice anywhere.
100%,
it's really, it's a tough, big part of the city of California. So, I wanted to mention, a lot of people didn't know about this, especially, someone I spoke with this morning. They were getting a trust together, but they had half sisters and brothers on the father's side. But didn't realize that you have to exclude people from a trust if they're related to immediate family. Even though they're not on your mother's side and they're on your father's side, you still have to do that, because I was in several situations where people that were estranged from their brothers and sisters died, and you make an announcement when someone passes away to find immediate family, and those half brothers that they didn't like ended up in probate with the executor because they are blood related and they were not excluded. And better yet, one of the brothers passes away, married a woman who was married to her for 9 months. After they were married for 9 months, the guy passes away, the brother that was in the probate. She ends up inheriting almost $2 million.
Wow.
Because he didn't get a trust or start preparing himself, not knowing that this woman now in Texas, they lived in Texas, even though it's a California property, because he passed away and he didn't have anything. And so everything went over to her.
You got to make a plan.
He didn't have a plan. So not that she got lucky. It was horrible after, marrying somebody and 9 months later they pass away. But she got $2 million.
And yes, you can leave your assets to whomever you'd like.
Yeah.
It's important to be specific. If you create a trust, you may wish to exclude certain individuals.
And you have to name them.
You know what? You don't, but you are at a greater risk of a lawsuit if you don't. If you don't specifically exclude certain individuals, they may indicate that they were promised something, forgotten, that there was undue influence involved with their particular parent. Also, we're in a community property state, but a lot of people are in second marriages.
Right.
They come to the marriage with their own separate property.
That's right.
And they may need a separate trust to make sure there isn't commingling of assets so that we don't have confusion about what is supposed to go to who at the end of the day. And you're not going to get that with a DIY plan. You need to go see an attorney in order to make sure it has everything it needs.
I was talking to a woman who got divorced, and I don't know, we weren't talking about estate plan. We ended up in the conversation, though. I was at a meeting, and she goes, yeah, I have to get around to it. And I said, do you want your ex-husband calling the shots if something happens to you on the healthcare directive? Because he's still on there. She goes, oh my God, he would pull the plug on me. He does not like me.
Time for an update.
Big do you know that resonated with her? Not to say that can happen, but you know what? If it's on paper, no one changed it. I mean, it's scary to think that your ex will be the one making decisions because they're on that paper.
Right. And it's so easily resolved by getting a good advanced health care directive, a new one in place in that circumstance. And I always make sure we're specific about things like, do you want pain medication? Right. Do you want to be comfortable?
Right, right.
You can even include in these directives, which are effectively powers of attorney for healthcare, your preference for continuing to live in your own home if you become incapacitated versus potentially going into a facility. And your agent's required to follow your directions.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference to make sure you have a trusted individual and that people know what your wishes are. Do you want to stay hooked up to machines?
That's right.
For me, I've got little kids. Yeah, fight. I want to fight. I'm going to fight, or I'm going to fight.
Right, because you never know. Right.
But if you're elderly, terminally ill, most people know there's no quality of life left at some point. And taking the burden off of your family from having to make that decision for you by letting them know your preference, it just means so much.
You know, it's interesting. Now, in a trust, you don't always have to wait for people to die. You can start giving them money when they turn a certain age, where the trust says at 18, little Johnny is going to get $20,000 for a car from my estate, because that's the happy part. You can actually watch people enjoy the money.
Yeah, that's true.
How nice is that? You can list it, right? So, you know, there's a happy side to this too. When you're, 80 and you are healthy and well enough, and little Johnny wants to get a car, and you're so excited. He's got good grades. He went to a great school, and now he deserves a car. And you can actually,
And most of the trusts I do allow you to continue making gifts as long as it's revocable.
Right.
Which typically is it's either going to be for both spouses' lifetimes or at least until the first spouse's death. And then sometimes we do a division, especially where we have a second marriage.
Right.
And we want to make sure kids from first marriage receive their parents' portion. Kids from second marriage receive second parents. And really there's no set rule on this stuff.
No.
So we can make it however it needs to be.
That's amazing.
One thing I do want to note, if you have children and you haven't set up powers of attorney for healthcare and finances, do it, because in those documents you can name a guardian.
Right.
You can state a preference as to who you would want to take care of your minor children.
Right.
And absent some cause not to appoint them, the court will take that preference into consideration. It gives them a priority.
Of course.
Same thing applies if you're elderly and might end up needing a conservatorship.
Yes, right.
You can state your preferences in those
and that's
documents.
so important. You still keep control. And again, Christine, I look forward to having you on the show again. And we're on the Facebook page, KHTS Hometown Station page on Facebook, and KHTS Entertainment when you're not listening to the radio and you can't drive and write. That's not a good thing. So Christine, again, what is your phone number? And will be on Facebook. Doesn't go away ever. So you can always reference it or call me. Call Christine at.
Sure. It's 714-704-4828. Again, 714-704-4828. And my firm is Barth Calderon. You can also look us up online. You'll find us readily.
They're great attorneys. They handle all facets of the law. And, a big part of it is estate planning and probate and litigation. And they service all of California. So, again, thank you so much for giving us such important information.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.